You
You
are
you are
listening
listening
to
to
the
the
Black
Black
Love
Love
Experience
Experience
Podcast.
I'm Amber.
I'm Tavares. We are the Black Love Experience. Welcome to our kingdom. Welcome back to the Black Love Experience Podcast. I am Tavares. Mrs. Amber JG is out on assignment. Y'all know how we do. We're going to hold it down anyway for y'all. What's up, baby? I see you out there. Today, we're talking about having the tough conversations. Okay? Working our way through tough conversations is not easy. My wife and I, we have tough conversations all the time, and we've made it a regular thing so that, guess what? They're no longer tough. Transparency helps, right? Being able to speak to your partner, your friend, your kids, whomever, coworker, it's helpful if we are willing and transparent. Look, some people don't want to have tough conversations, right? We all know people who run from those tough conversations. They may deflect. They may even project. It just depends on what we're talking about. And luckily for them, well, we're talking about tough conversations. So there is no running. There's none of that. We are here to help each and every single person listening and tuning in. Thank you, by the way. We're here to help and ourselves go into these conversations and go into them with optimism. See, you've heard us mention you will get what you give. And we're talking about energy a lot of the times, right? If we go into a situation and we're, let's say, not excited about it, well, then the response that we get back may be not enthusiastic, not excited about. If we're excited, however, then the response will be exciting. See, a lot of this also has to do with claiming our victories. For example, when it comes to having the tough conversations with our children, we must be able to relate. And in our case, myself and Mrs. Garrett, with our kids and grandkids, we take a much different approach. See, we ask them questions because we want to know what they're thinking. See, this isn't just about being the adult or being the grandparent and us always telling or sharing with our kids or grandkids what to do. We understand that life is about experiences. Life is going to evolve as we evolve, right? Right. So what's important is to be available. It's important to allow our loved ones, friends, even our children to have access to us. Each one teach one. How else are we going to teach them how to communicate with people? See, communication is key. We all know this. And we must be able to communicate effectively and efficiently, especially when it comes to conveying what we want, require, or desire. Mrs. Garrett and I talk about this all the time. I do all I can to be very clear when communicating with her because it's up to me to convey my message clearly, right? Right. I don't ever want to assume that she's going to pick up what I'm putting down. So I must be effective and efficient in my practices of communication. In our culture, a lot of times what happens, and many of us have seen this. You've seen it. I've seen it. We know friends and family who have done this. We have maybe even done it ourselves when it comes to our kids. Disciplining our kids, telling them things like, shut up, go sit down. We all know someone who's done this, okay? Don't act brand new, okay? In our culture, we move with a lot of aggression, and we know why that is. It didn't just happen. We know why that is. But as we evolve as a people, what I've seen time and time again is parents telling their kids, shut up and sit down, disciplining them and not reinstalling the next step of that emotional behavior. See, if we're going to tell our kids to shut up and sit down, then we must also reinstall the next behavior that comes with that, love. Because love is a part of communicating. We don't just tell our kids, sit down and shut up. We must explain to them why they're being disciplined. And then after we explain it to them, we balance it out with love. We hug them, we kiss them. Don't just yell at your kids, tell them to shut up and go sit down and just do that. Because guess what? We've all seen that look that kids give adults when they get yelled at. It's that deer in the headlight look. It's that look like, what's coming next? You know why that look is coming back at you like that? Because they're literally waiting for you to reinstall the next behavior, especially kids. Kids can't process emotions, everybody. In fact, I believe we don't process emotions well until around like 12, 13, maybe 14 years old as a child. I know as a child, I didn't process emotions. I know that because my therapists have told me that. Both of my therapists have told me that. Shout out Dr. M and Dr. J. And look, that's just a part of a child's development. If we don't reinstall that next behavior, then what happens is that memory is stuck. And for a lot of us, that memory could be traumatic. And if it is, then it's going to be stuck until much later on in life when it shows itself. I can speak to that myself. A lot of times, for me, my experiences came out later in life. Like how I would respond emotionally, my ability to have a conversation or not. This is why I'm talking about this. We're talking about this, me and Mrs. G, because we want our culture to be more aware of the way we communicate with our children, our friends, our family. Let's move with emotional intelligence. Look, I'm guilty of it too. Many times, I will be thinking or saying something and, well, I'll act as if someone knows what I'm talking about. We've all been there, right? Right. Here's the deal. We cannot assume that people know what we are talking about. We must be clear. We must communicate efficiently and effectively because we also want the person to respond to us in that way, right? Right. We want those that we are talking to open up to us, especially those who have a hard time opening up. Let's be honest. Emotions, relationships, money, work. These are all topics that are not easy to talk about. We all know people, if it's not us ourselves, who have become frustrated with having these conversations, maybe with a loved one, maybe with a friend. I have plenty of memories of having tough conversations with friends over business. Now, did those conversations always go well? No. And I'm going to tell you why they didn't go well. Because I was too busy moving with my emotion. We all know people like that. Take your emotions out of the conversation, especially if it's business. And if it is a personal conversation, then I ask you to breathe because controlling our breath controls our emotions. This is the Black Love Experience podcast. We'll be right back. Hey, what's up, everybody? Please say a prayer for those over in Turkey and continue praying for those in Ukraine. The world, as we all know, is going through a very dark time right now. So please, let's shine a light and show love. Welcome back to the Black Love Experience podcast. I am Tavares. Mrs. Garrett is out on assignment, so we're going to keep holding it down. What's up, baby? I see you. You know, my wife is always out there getting it. Today, we're talking about tough conversations and having them and the ways we should go about having them. Look, the Black Love Experience podcast is all inclusion here. So we love sharing different ways of communicating. We just love sharing, period, whether it's ways of cooking, communicating, having fun, traveling, etc. It's important that we move as leaders within our community and our culture. Look, I'm always, asking the question, where are the Black leaders? Well, we've decided to become your Black leaders. That's right. See, these are some of those conversations that are tough to have because we have been conditioned to always look outside of ourselves for these answers. And recently, I've been thinking this to myself. I've shared it with a few people. And I said, hey, you know what? Where are all the Black leaders at? And a lot of the times, these conversations, they may go a little while and then they fall off. Now, I'm not sure why that is. It could be maybe they don't have much interest in new Black leaders. I do, though. Mrs. G and I do. That's for sure. The Black Love Experience definitely has interest in new Black leaders and in teaching and leading others to become new leaders. Again, the tough conversations. Let's have them. If we want to see the change, we got to be that change, right? Right. So when it comes to communicating, no need to be shy. And if you are shy, ask yourself why. What is it about the conversation that may trigger you? What is it about the conversation that may make you feel awkward or uncomfortable? A lot of times when it comes to changing, a natural feeling that follows is that uncomfortable, awkward feeling. Now, I've learned to look at that and say, you know what? That's a part of my change process. I must invite that in and not run from it. Many times we are running from the conversation only to have it later on. But why? Why not check that box now? Some of the harder conversations for people to have in life, a lot of times surround, like I said earlier, finances, relationships can be difficult, right? And then, of course, the details within the relationship, like intimacy, sex, money. See, if you're in a relationship or not, this information is valuable because if you're not in a relationship and you're getting this information, guess what? When you go into that relationship, you're going to go in there ready. You'll go in there understanding and anticipating what may be expected of you. I'm a huge fan of managing expectations, whether it's mine or the other person's. So when I ask some people like, where's your life headed? That could be a tough conversation for some, excuse me. That could be a tough conversation for some. Because the reality is many folks don't know where they're headed. And guess what? That's okay. That's why we're talking about this. I want people to understand that it's okay to not have an answer. It's okay to say, I don't have an answer, but I'm working on it. Because that's what life is about. The experiences, figuring things out, okay? Another question that some people may avoid. How do you think you will die? I know it's a bit morbid, but I'm just saying. Some people are into that sort of thing. See, this is about, again, having the tough conversations, showing up with courage, not running. This also builds self-esteem. It also builds confidence, okay? I do public speaking periodically, and I can tell you, it's been very helpful in allowing me to go into rooms, seminars, meetings, and have tough conversations. Another tough conversation to have, a raise at work. Don't be afraid to ask for what you feel you deserve. Because how else will your boss know where you stand? You get where I'm going with this? Having tough conversations, a lot of it is in our head, okay? It's in our head. And we're in our head so tough that many times we will talk ourselves right out of an opportunity. Why do that to ourselves? There's no need to do that. Know that you have the confidence to walk into any setting and have the conversation. In fact, when we do that, we then put on our leader shoes. Because there's always someone else paying attention, right? There's always someone else watching what we're doing, whether it be a lover, a friend, a family member, an associate, colleague, whatever the case is. People watch people on a regular basis. Often they're looking to obtain something from the conversation. Look, if you want to get to the answers, sometimes we got to ask tough questions. It's just that simple. Another one. What are the highest and lowest points of your life? Now, nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to talk about those points because those points, well, the high points, yes. The low points, not so much. But why is that? Why, as people, do we gravitate towards the high points, the best parts of ourselves, instead of identifying and acknowledging the low points in our lives. I used to be that person. That's why I could speak to this. I would only celebrate the high points. Now, I celebrate all of it because I now understand without those low points, I never really appreciate the high points. It's kind of like social media, right? You only see like the best of people. You never really see people like in the dumps on social media because social media has conditioned many of us to show the better sides of ourselves. Nothing wrong with that at all because that's a confidence builder and booster right there. But when we're dealing with the real world and real world issues, well, hey, war is a tough conversation for some people to have. Easier for other people. Just depends on who you're talking to. How have your strengths helped you succeed? A question I've been asked many times at work, right? We've all been in interviews and they'll say, hey, give me, your better problem solving ideas, or they'll ask you, tell me about a time where you had to problem solve on the spot. Now, for some people, that could be complete brain fog. For others, they'd be like, hey, it's what I do. For me, I do my best to be transparent about everything because that's all I have. When it comes to being me, I want to show up and I will show up because that is what I require from myself. Another question, what are your biggest goals for your life? This question stumps people all the time because they have to think about their life and their goals. A lot of us don't even want to think about what's going on in our lives because maybe our lives are that, confusing, complex, difficult. I'm here to let you know it's all good either way. No one's better than any other person on this earth. No one is the exception to the rule, not even the 1%. They think they are, but they're not. We all put on our pants the same way. We all bleed the same color. This is the Black Love Podcast, the Black Experience, the Black Love Experience Podcast. It's been a long day, y'all, but we're going to get it together. We'll be right back. Don't forget to pick up my new book, Kissed by the Wind, A Book of Poems and Passions, Volume 3, out now on Amazon Books. Go ahead and search Tavares Allen Garrett and get yourself a copy. Thank you for your support. Welcome back to the Black Love Experience Podcast. I am Tavares. My beautiful queen, Amber JG, is out on assignment. Today we're talking about having those tough conversations, working our way through those tough conversations. Look, y'all just heard me before the break. I kind of fumbled on some words. Sometimes that happens during, you guessed it, tough conversations because people are unprepared. Is there a way to prepare for a tough conversation? Probably not, especially if you don't know what's coming your way. But let's say you do. You prepare. How do you prepare? Easy. You go into the mirror, do Tavares' famous mirror talk. Start there. Ask yourself the questions that you're going to ask someone else, or answer the questions you may be asked by someone else. It's a great way to prepare for a tough conversation. Another great way, keep it simple. Stick to the facts. Don't let a lot of the, I'll say, non-details fill up the conversation. Be intentional about sticking to the script. There's nothing wrong with trying to have an effective and efficient conversation. And always hold space to listen and to respond. If someone's talking to you, at least acknowledge them. Don't not acknowledge them because that is a part of communicating. And that part really matters. You ever talk to someone, you're talking to them, and they're not giving you any kind of rhythm back? You don't even know if they're listening. See, that can also be detrimental in communicating effectively. So be aware of that. Even if we're in an argument with someone, you want to respond, okay? In fact, you can say, I heard you. I'll get back to you. That level of acknowledgement is so powerful and so necessary. A lot of us will be like, okay, cool. And then that person will back off and they'll go on their day about their business, giving you space to process. Holding space to process will change your life. There's no need to be always at the ready to respond. There really isn't. And look, I can talk about that because I've been that person. I've been the person who always had a response, always ready to have a response. You know someone like that? I know a lot of people like that. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it'll work, and other times it won't. Silence is powerful. They say silence is golden, right? Right. So we can use that to our advantage during a tough conversation. Some of the hardest topics to talk about for some people: divorce, illness, death, natural disasters. All of these are very emotionally tapped conversation topics. And I know folks who don't really care about talking about illnesses because they may have someone that's going through an illness. I have a few people in my life right now that are going through some pretty tough times. Sending love and light to all of y'all, by the way, from the Black Love Experience podcast. We love you. We wish you all the best. And even in those times, we must be available to have tough conversations. For example, when it comes to death or people who have, illnesses that may lead them there, the quality of life can be a tough conversation to have. But listen, we all understand that death is a part of the life cycle. Celebrating life is so important at the time of death. My humble opinion, I call death a transition. It's not a forever, to me anyway. It's a see you later. That's how I look at it. There was a time, long time ago, where I would look at death as like the final curtain call, but I no longer look at it like that. I understand that death is a part of life's process. So what I try to do in my life on a day-to-day basis is be intentional about the things that I want to get done. Be intentional about loving my loved ones, about sharing how I feel about them intentionally, every single opportunity that I get. And guess what? By doing that, it makes those tough conversations easier to talk about because they understand where I'm coming from the heart, from the self. Look, I said it earlier, a lot of the times we are in our own heads. Don't talk yourself down and out. Talk yourself up and in. Be excited about who you are. Be excited about the opportunity to have this conversation. And then, of course, there's people that come to us, right? As leaders, as confidants, as supporters, and they want to share that tough conversation with us. Be available to it. As a servant leader, I must be available to those tough conversations. I don't have to take on all the emotional pressure that comes with the conversation. Not at all. Just listen, right? Talking about tough topics reassures children, friends, family that help is there and it will help them understand and lets you explain where the value is in having the conversation. The way you talk about tough topics depends on our ability to understand. So if we talk about the topic in a nasty way with vulgarity and we're yelling, well, what's getting accomplished? Nothing. In fact, they probably heard nothing that you said. In fact, they're more focused on your face expression, body language, perhaps the level of your voice. See, I've been there too. As a child, I was yelled at many times, right? Right. I did things, I wasn't a perfect kid, right? Right. But I do remember looking at my mother with this deer in the headlight look. Because remember, kids, little ones especially, can't process emotion. They know what they know what fear is, especially if the fear is coming from a loved one, like a parent, right? Right. That's why I said earlier, reinstall the next behavior. Like reinstall, show them love, help them understand, honey, this is why I did what I did, and this is how I still love you. You're not wrong because you did something bad. Mommy and daddy love you. That's what I'm talking about. Making sure our children, our friends, our family know that love is still at the front of it all. No one's perfect. But how we approach conversations, the way we speak to each other is so very important. It matters so much. That's why don't be afraid to have those conversations. Be willing, be ready, be available, be accessible, be confident. Know that you got it. Know that you can handle it. Know that it is not too much. And again, we're talking about anything when it comes to tough conversations, right? And I mean anything. For example, how would your closest friends describe you? That's a good question, right? For a deep conversation. It's about being available. Because look, through these tough conversations, we never know what other gifts and gems and blessings will come our way. And that's the beauty about having the tough conversations. We've been conditioned to run from them. Oh, no, not today, not now. Don't want to do it. Got a hair appointment. Nah, don't do that. If somebody wants to have a tough conversation with you, have the conversation. Now, I'm not saying to have the conversation with them based on their timeline. I am saying have the tough conversation. Work out the scheduling together. Maybe you have a boyfriend or ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend. Sometimes breakups, they be doing that dance, right? I've been there too. You go back and forth, want to talk about this, want to talk about that. Look, have the tough conversation. Get through all the details. Do your best to keep the non-factual details out of it, because clarity is what we really want to achieve when we communicate, especially during these conversations. People tend to shut down. We all know folks like that. I've been like that in my past. No need to shut down. And look, if you don't want to have the tough conversation, let me be clear to cover these bases as well. If you don't want to have the tough conversation, then say that. And say it in a way that is respectful. Hey, I'm not ready to have a conversation right now, but we can get to it. And let it be that. Because then at least you're leaving the door open for communication. And if you're doing that, then you're leaving the door open for personal growth. That's right. You're leaving the door open to be engaging. You're willing to hear what the other person has to say. A lot of times people just want to be heard. And when it comes to tough conversations, look, they're not always bad. Sometimes they are heavy in nature and emotional. And sometimes, look, our friends and our loved ones, they need us to be there for them. And guess what? Sometimes you don't have to even say anything. Just listen. Just listen. And through listening, a lot of times, the answer will come right to us. This is the Black Love Experience Podcast. We'll be right back.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's nice.
Be sure to catch the BLX podcast right here on Anchor.fm weekly. Welcome back to the Black Love Experience Podcast. I am Tavares Garrett. My beautiful wife, Amber Johnson Garrett, is out on assignment right now. Baby, I see you. I love you. Today, we're talking about tough conversations, why we have them, when we have them, the way we have them. I want to continue to encourage everyone to show up with courage. Don't be afraid to have these conversations. It's all good. Talk to your boss if you want to raise. Because guess what? If you go in there all scared and shy and timid talking to your boss, they're going to smell that fear and they're going to respond with that fear. And you may not have an opportunity to say what you really want to say. And that would suck, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it suck for you to waste an opportunity where you could be getting what you want? Remember, we don't want to talk ourselves down and out. We want to talk ourselves up and in. We deserve to give ourselves that flexibility. I had a friend one time ask me, what 3 words would you use to describe yourself? Hit me with that and I was like, only 3? But that's a perfect example of what could be considered a tough conversation for some, because some of us have a lot of trauma in our background, in our history, and generations before us, well, they handled things different. They weren't always willing to talk. It was more like ask no questions, I tell you no lies type of thing. And I'm happy to say I'm not a part of that generation. We are not a part of that generation. We want to invite in the conversation. We invite transparency because we understand that there's so much empowerment there. There's a lot of empowerment in being vulnerable. And that's really what it comes down to, right? Whether a person is willing or not to be vulnerable in these particular spaces or places. Before you go into a tough conversation, you could even ask yourself, do I really want to have this talk? Is it going to benefit me? How will it benefit me? What am I looking to obtain by having this conversation? Will I lose sleep over it? Again, just simple questions to ask yourself, because I'm not sitting here saying that you must have it. What I'm saying is, hey, it's okay to have them. And how you go about them, that is your detail, just like it's my detail. Me and Mrs. Garrett, we talk about everything and anything. See, my old relationships have put me in a position to be a much better communicator. Shoot, old relationships are tough to talk about, right? Who wants to talk about ex-boyfriends and girlfriends, right? Another question people tend to ask themselves, how many people have you slept with? Don't ask that question because you don't really want to know the answer. I mean, let's think about that for a second. What good would it do you? There's a guy out there right now, or a young lady out there right now, who just met a nice young man, or a nice young man who just met a nice young queen. Don't ask the question about how many sexual partners they've had. I say that because what's it matter? The life before you, what's it matter? As long as they're not out here acting like a terrorist, committing terrorist activity, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things that we just don't want to know, because you got to ask yourself, what's the point? If it's just to know and have some tea, stop. Don't play yourself, okay? Don't insult the other person like that either. Like, understand, when we meet people, right, we want to get to know them. And I understand getting to know them, but we don't have to dig into their past. Now, I'll even flip that for you. My mother is a part of a different generation. And there may be things I want to know about her life that she's not comfortable disclosing to me. I have to respect that, because that level of conversation could be either uncomfortable, maybe even painful. My mother is a domestic violence survivor. So I do know that there are certain parts of conversations that we cannot have. As much as I may want to have the answers, I have to respect her story. We all must respect the other person's story. So when we're talking about having these tough conversations, please keep that in mind. We may have an agenda and you may want some answers, but if the other person's life has pain associated with that conversation, we have to respect that. And I mean that. We have to respect that. We cannot overlook that because we want answers to our questions. Having the tough conversation also means being respectful. Other questions that may be tough for some to deal with: if you could live anywhere, where would you live? That could be a tough conversation because there's a whole lot of geographical selections. But seriously, the point is, when we ask questions to our friends, family, children, grandchildren, whomever, be mindful what you're asking. Ask with intention. Don't just ask a general question, because guess what? You're going to get a general answer. And if you're going to be, let's say, if you're going to have an attitude when you go into a tough conversation, don't be surprised when you get attitude back. Let's just be 100 about that, everybody, okay? Be respectful when you go into these conversations. Okay, I've been a part of many conversations in my life, both as the ex-boyfriend, both as, even as a customer who was unhappy, right? We must go into these conversations and be respectful. We must be mindful. We must be aware of who we're talking to and how we're speaking to them, because tone matters. Tone matters. And trust, I didn't always believe that, but it really does. Because we want that person to open up to us, right? You want them to be comfortable in talking to you. So keep that in mind. We can't expect someone to open up to us if we go into the conversation and we're aggressive and we're yelling and we're using profanity all the time, just dropping F-bomb after F-bomb, because guess what? That's aggressive. And I know a lot of folks who shut down when it comes to people being aggressive, because guess what? There's trauma in their background. I know domestic violence survivors. Have you ever talked to one before? Have you been around one? Have you hung around them? Loud noises can shake them. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We have to be mindful of the conversation, the topic of discussion, and what it can and will bring up for the next person or for the other person that we're talking to, because we don't want to drag or pull or walk anyone through their pain, especially if they're not willing to walk through their pain on their own. A part of having tough conversations is respecting the person you're having the conversation with, respecting the content of the conversation, respecting the details of the conversation. See, this ain't tea that I'm talking about. Tea is gossip. That's a different conversation for a different day. We're talking about tough conversations. Be mindful, be respectful, show up with courage and love. Breathe in peace, breathe out love. This is the Black Love Experience podcast. We'll be right back. Always encourage love, always encourage Black love. Everybody, everywhere, always stand up in the name of love. If y'all love music, be sure to check out Amber JG and Tavares Days on Apple Music. Go ahead, check it out. We got them hits for you.
Pussycat Pearly here, baby. Fluffy in the front, tight in the back. And if we going up, then we going all the way up. You dig? Now check this out. I'm always locked in. And I'm always locked in to the Black Love Experience podcast. They just give me what I need to get through the day. You understand what I'm saying? Do you really dig what I'm saying to you? It's really real up over here. Tell a friend, tell somebody. We always locked in. The BLX, baby. It's the Black Love Experience podcast. I am the only one you know. Meow.
Body Synthesis assists you with stress relief, weight management, behavior change, sober support, positive self-talk, nutritious lifestyling, and more. Are you transformation ready? Call us now at 818-533-8059. And if you're online, check us out on Instagram or Facebook at Body Synthesis. Go to our website at thebodysynthesis.com. Welcome back to the Black Love Experience podcast. I am Tavares. My lovely, beautiful queen, Amber, what's up, baby, is out on assignment right now. Today, we're talking about tough conversations and what it looks like when we have them. Hopefully, it looks good for you and it's not too heavy, right? But that can and will happen. Nothing wrong with that. Deep conversations to have are essentially those that include self-disclosure. Again, I said this earlier. A lot of people are not willing to disclose a whole lot about themselves, especially when it comes to conversations that hit close to home. Okay? I've been that person. I've had to work to be the version I am today on this show with you all today. I'm proud of that work. I still have a hard time giving myself compassion and self-love and allowing myself to take good compliments, right? But hey, I'm here, I show up, I respond with courage. I know I'm a leader, both myself and Mrs. Garrett. And so that's why we share this with you all. Being a leader, in my opinion, is a blessing, especially within our culture, because we all know we need more leaders, right? And leaders beget leaders. That's a huge part of the Black Love Experience right there. Being a leader, being a beacon of light and hope. and driving a positive narrative within our culture that uplifts every single soul in our culture, from the infant babies to our senior citizens. Revealing personal, intimate information about what someone's thinking or what they're feeling or their experiences can really be difficult for them. Okay? Even beliefs. Discussions about beliefs, we all know those things can get heated pretty quick. That's why I said earlier, be mindful, be respectful. Okay? Don't go in just shooting from the hip, so to speak. Like, don't just be so general about it. Be specific so that you get the information that you're searching for. Okay? A lot of people don't want to go into the deep conversation topics because they're afraid. And we all know what kind of number fear can do. Fear can stop people in their tracks. Fear can have people avoid opportunity when it's showing them it is theirs. So let's learn to look at fear as opportunity and not as a deterrent. When I think about having a tough conversation, I think about, how can I be of service? How can I help you? You all can use that, by the way. It's totally available to you. Remember, we've been conditioned when we hear things like, let's talk. We've all been conditioned like, dun, 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 dun. No. Someone says, let's talk. Like, cool, come on. What you want to talk about? And respond like that. Because guess what? The person may come to you kind of heavy, like, let's talk. But your response can change the entire vibration of the conversation to come. Just by saying, sure, let's talk. You may have that person rethink what they're about to tell you. Real talk. That's how powerful conversation can be. That's how powerful our energy can be. In fact, that is how our energy can influence the narrative and or outcome of a conversation. I don't believe anyone wakes up every day looking to go out and hurt people. I don't believe that. Though it happens, I don't believe they wake up that way. Conversations are always an opportunity to connect as well, right? They're great to connect. They're great to get familiar with the other person. And then, of course, again, to get to the bottom line. Personal finances, family and relationships, again, all these things that are difficult to talk about, they don't have to be, okay? Asking your friends how they're doing, what's on their mind, how's their heart, checking in with your friends. These are all good ways to spark up healthy conversation. We can't forget about the healthy conversations that are available to us as well. They may start out as tough conversations, but they don't have to end up as tough conversations. So let's continue to be mindful, be aware, be loving, accessible, and available, not only for those who seek our help, but for the help we seek. I want to thank each and every single person who continues to like, add, subscribe, and follow the Black Love Experience podcast. We enjoy doing this show. We love the kingdom. We appreciate each and every single one of you. Please hit us up. All of our details are in the description. Our Linktree / Black Love Experience link that will get you to all of our social media and to our email. You could also email the Black Love Experience at Black Love Experience, no EX, at gmail.com. So Black Love Experience at gmail.com. Remember, no E in experience, just the X. Hit us up on socials at the Black Love Experience on Instagram and Facebook. And remember, this is about showing love with every opportunity that we have, because life is full of opportunities. Let's be mindful. Let's embrace them. Let's show up with courage. I want to thank my lovely queen, Amber JG, who's out on assignment. Baby, I love you. I'll see you when you get home. And I want to thank the kingdom for always showing up. Until the next time, be the better versions of yourself. We'll talk to you soon, kingdom. We love you. Peace.
Vibe one time for your mind, for your mind.
Next time on the BLX.
Be intentional in love on the next Black Love Experience podcast.
I'm Amber.
I'm Tavares. We are the Black Love Experience. Welcome to our kingdom.